Okay, we'll start now. See, today what I'm going to do is I will take up one of the most important philosophical systems in Indian philosophy, that is Vedanta philosophy. Uh, as most of the students may be knowing, in Vedanta, mainly in UPSC, there are three important sub-schools which basically needs to be studied. One is Shankar's Advait Vedanta, then Ramanujacharya's Vishishtadvait, and then we have Dvait Vedant by Madhvacharya. These three are important. There are others also, which we will try to study very briefly. So what I will do today is, today we will take up, the Vedanta and these three sub-schools. We will try to briefly understand what are their metaphysics, their epistemology, their soteriology, etc. And what are the differences among the three, and what kind of questions are asked. And in the end, we will also take up a few PYQs and we will try to understand what can be the model answers. As you know, 2024 exam paper already I have discussed, and I have put the model answers, etc. In YouTube, on YouTube video also. On this channel also one can see. One thing just before I start, I want to tell you, while giving the lectures, I do use some notes, etc. Now, students have to understand they may not be required to copy the notes, because these notes, etc., I do put in WhatsApp group and Telegram channel, which related Telegram channel and the WhatsApp group which I am having. From there, you can access these notes, and also you can access the notes of previous classes as well. For joining those groups, you can go to the description of this YouTube channel as well as the description of this video. Also, you will find on YouTube how you can join. What is the link for joining this WhatsApp and Telegram channel, so that you can access the PDF notes, etc. Now let me start the Vedanta philosophy description, and then we can. I will just share document, and then we can proceed. As I told, there are three schools. So first, before we go to those three schools, we will try to understand the meaning and foundation and scope of Vedanta philosophy. As the word itself suggests, Vedanta, it literally means, end of Vedas. And end of Vedas, it's not only literal meaning, because this is also, you can say, a culmination of highest kind of philosophical teachings in as far as Indian philosophy is concerned. And therefore, it is studied in almost end of the philosophical systems. And this is one of the very, very important, chapters, schools of Indian philosophy. Also, usually, every year, about 40 to 50 marks questions do come from Vedanta philosophy. 120 marks question is definitely sure, another 15 marks, another 10 marks question also may come. So basically, 40 to 50 marks question definitely is going to come. It's very, very important philosophical system as far as exam point of view is all concerned, and also otherwise from the knowledge point of view, from the philosophical development of Indian systems is concerned. It's very, very important school. Now, see, the foundation of this Vedanta philosophy, as you can see, there are three foundations: Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutras. And these are called together. These are called prasthantrayis. So Upanishads, philosophical teachings or philosophical ideas on Brahma and self and the word and the ultimate reality, all are mentioned in this thing. And as in last lecture I told, the Mimamsa philosophy is called Purva Mimamsa, because that is based on ritualistic thing from Upanishad itself. And this Vedanta philosophy is also called Uttar Mimamsa. So this is mostly philosophical, not putting stress on rituals and ritualistic philosophical system. So first is Upanishad, then Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, is very, important basis of Vedanta philosophy. And then Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras were written by Badrayan, one of the important philosophers. Now, this Brahma Sutra systematizes the diverse Upanishadic teachings into coherent philosophical structure. And as I told, together these are called Prasthantrayi. These are universally recognized as the scriptural basis for all Vedantic schools, whether it is Advait Vedanta, whether it is Vishishtaadvait, whether it is Dvait Vedanta. Now, what problem these Vedantic schools are dealing with? Let us try to understand what is the central problem as far as the central issue which is discussed again and again in these schools. Of course, with a lot of differences, because all three schools do not think in the same line as far as that problem is concerned. Let us try to understand that. See, all schools of Vedanta seek the answer of the question, what is the relationship between Brahma and Jiva and Jagat? Now, this is an important question. What is the relationship between Brahma, Jiva, and Jagat? Now, while seeking the relationship, they also describe what is the status of these three, because unless you clarify what is the metaphysical status of Brahma and Jiva and Jagat, you will not be able to link the relationship, and how one can know Brahma, how one can know Jiva or say. So, whole their epistemology, metaphysics, and even their liberation theory, soteriology is linking to this question, that what is the relationship between the absolute, the individual self, and the world. How is ultimate reality to be understood, and how is liberation to be achieved? As I told, this is a sub question of this main question, but main is the relationship between these three. Now let us go to Advait Vedanta. Briefly, we will try to see what Shankaracharya has said regarding this Advait Vedanta. His philosophical system is called Advait Vedanta. Name itself suggests that it is Advait, unified Vedanta, or basically because he proposed that Jiva and Brahma are same, or basically unified one, so therefore it is called Advait Vedanta. What is philosophical structure? Now let us understand its metaphysics. Brahma is the only Paramarthik Satya, absolute reality, infinite, impersonal, attributeless, non-dual consciousness. So this is the Brahma of Shankaracharya. Jagat, that is this word, is Mithya. So Brahma is Paramarthik Satya and Jagat is Mithya, an empirical appearance, not ultimately real, but not absolutely unreal either. And they give a term for this is Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means indescribable. Then third is Jiva, that is self, is not ontologically separate from Brahma. The apparent individuality is due to avidya, that is ignorance. So this is regarding Brahma, word, and Jiva. All the three status of these three as far as Advait Vedanta is concerned. Now, another important aspect which Shankaracharya posits is Maya. Now, what is Maya? Maya is the power of illusion or cosmic ignorance that projects the world and individuality. Maya is also neither real nor unreal. And he calls Maya also Anirvachaniya. So basically, Maya is illusionary power which causes the ignorance. So this is important, Maya. Now, in epistemology, as far as Shankaracharya is concerned, theory of knowledge of Shankaracharya, knowledge is the sole means to liberation. This is what Shankaracharya posits. So he basically goes for Gyan Marg. As you may be knowing, there are different marks for liberation. So Shankaracharya goes for Gyan Marg. Adhyasa, another important term for Shankaracharya is Adhyas, that is superimposition. The process by which one mistakes the body, mind, and word as the self, similar to mistaking a rope for a snake. So this is called Adhyasa. Now, definitely, we have seen now, Shankaracharya posits or enunciates two orders of reality, two systems of reality. One is Paramarthik, another is Vyavaharik. Paramarthik is basically, which is the actually real truth, and that is only Brahm. Only Brahm is the Paramarthik truth. Now, Vyavaharik, that is empirical, everyday experience, in that word, individual, God, everybody is true as far as Vyavaharik truth is concerned. Now, as far as liberation, now let us see what is the liberation, what is meant by liberation for Shankaracharya. Moksha is the direct realization of one's identity with Brahma. Jivan Mukti, that is liberation while living, achieved by threefold discipline. So basically, for Shankaracharya, moksha is direct realization of one's identity with Brahma. So if a human being or if a jiva or individual self realizes his identity with Brahma, he gets moksha. And what are the paths to be achieved? He gives it threefold discipline. One is Shravan, another is Manan, and then Nidhyasana. Now, what is Shravan? As a word itself, so all these are Sanskrit words. So if you have gone through, I mean, you will be knowing Shravan means hearing or reading the scriptural teachings. Manan means reflecting and reasoning on those teachings. And Nidhyasana means meditative assimilation of those teachings. So karma and bhakti are only preparatory, not direct means. That is what Shankaracharya says. So for Shankaracharya, Gyan Marg is the only main, and karma and bhakti are only secondary, that is, they are preparatory to Gyan Marg. Now, a few technical terms have been used. We will try to understand those technical terms once again. As far as Shankaracharya is concerned, Brahma is very, very important in Shankaracharya philosophy. And Brahma is basically pure consciousness, Sat Chit Anand. I mean, this is what Shankaracharya defines as for Brahma. Existence, consciousness, and bliss, but without attributes. It's a Nirgun Brahm. So for him, Brahm is Nirgun. Then second is Maya, power of concealment, that is avaran, and projection, that is vikshep, that is source of error and plurality. So this is Maya. Then another important term is Vivartvad. Vivartvad is theory of apparent modification. Brahma appears as the word without undergoing any real change. So this is called theory of Vivartvad, which is, if you go to, I mean, we'll also go to Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya gives theory of Parinamvad. So Vivartvad and Parinamvad, these are two different theories. Parinamvad says that word goes real change. But here it's apparent modification. Brahma appears as the word without undergoing real change, whereas Parinamvad says it's real change. Now, another is Adhyasa, that is superimposition, error at the heart of perception and bondage. Now, let us try to understand what are the critical strengths as well as weaknesses of Shankaracharya's philosophy. Let me tell you before I go, Shankaracharya's philosophy is one of the most important philosophies, and actually in philosophical systems, it is culmination of almost all kinds of teachings. And it is word over, it is recognized as one of the most influential philosophies. So therefore, I mean, definitely it's one of the very, very important philosophies as far as exam point of view also concerned. Now, strengths, it's profoundly rational, subtle, and logically robust. So logically, very consistent kind of philosophy Shankaracharya has given. Explains mystical and direct spiritual experience. It's respected by philosophers like Eliot Deuce, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, and Aldous Huxley when they compare with Western idealism. Shankaracharya's philosophy in comparison to Western idealism is more consistent, more logical, and more convincing. So that's what philosophers have told. Now, but what are the negative points? Let us try to understand. Word negation, because he doesn't believe in the reality of this word as well as the individual also. So he is accused of undervaluing empirical reality and ethical engagement. So this is one of the important critical points as far as Shankaracharya is concerned. And Ramanuja, one of his, I mean, co-exponents of other sub-school, has very, very severely criticized this. Then Maya is criticized as an ill-defined concept. So this is again Ramanuja's strong criticism. Then it forbids any personal relationship with divine, seen as a cold and abstract. So this is another criticism. And then charges of escapism and ethical passivity. This is also put against uh, Shankaracharya Advaita Vedanta is concerned, even by philosophers like Radhakrishnan and Vivekananda. Now, what is its modern relevance? As I told, this is one of the very, very important philosophies as far as relevance to world is concerned. It influences global spirituality, Neo-Vedanta, for example, Vivekananda, transpersonal psychology, and interfaith dialogue on the utility of religion. So in all these respects, it's very, very influential as far as this philosophy is concerned. Now we'll go to Ramanujacharya, another important philosopher of Vedanta school. His philosophy is called, as I told, Vishishtadvait Vedanta, that is called qualified non-dualism. So now let us try to understand what is metaphysics, epistemology, and soteriology of this Ramanujacharya. Now in Ramanujacharya, Brahma or Vishnu or Narayana is Brahma basically. The only independent reality he possesses infinite auspicious attributes. That is Kalyan Gunas, he called. Then Jiva, soul, and Jagat, this word, both are real and eternal, but ontologically dependent on Brahm. Souls and matter are the body of God. Sarira, Sariri, Bhava. He calls them Sarira, Sariri, Bhava. So for him, individual self as well as this word, both are real, and Brahm is also real. And then now next is Apratak Siddhi, inseparable difference. Souls and matter are both distinct form, yet never independent of Brahma. So Brahma and basically souls are both interrelated. So Apratak Siddhi, this theory he has given. Then as I told Parinamvad earlier also while discussing Vivartavad, so he has given a theory of Parinamvad. So the theory of real transformation. The word is a genuine manifestation, not illusion of Brahma basically. Because Shankaracharya says it's illusion, Ramanujacharya says no, it's a real transformation as far as Brahma is concerned. What is this epistemology? Knowledge is necessary but not sufficient. So if we remember, Shankaracharya put highest stress on knowledge, that is Gyan Marg. But here, now knowledge becomes secondary. He says that knowledge must be complemented by devotion and disinterested action, that is karma. So karma and bhakti and knowledge, all three put together will only lead to liberation. Only Gyan Marg is not sufficient. Now is liberation, let us try to understand. Moksha is eternal loving communion with God, sharing his bliss and knowledge, but not his omnipotence. So here, individual self does not become God or does not merge in God as in Shankaracharya, because here it's only eternal loving communion with God. So this is what the difference is. Means bhakti or prapatti is the means of liberation, and the harmonious unity of knowledge and action, Gyan Karma Samuchaya. So another theory he has given. So Gyan Karma Samuchaya, but bhakti and prapatti, that is self-surrender, will lead to liberation. Now, what are the various few technical terms used? Let us try to understand that also. First is Apratak Siddhi. Apratak Siddhi is inseparable relation between individual and Brahma. Unlike external connection, that is Samvaya, as you might have studied, Samvaya is one connection between one individual to other individual, or one quality to one body. But here, Apratak Siddhi is inseparable relation, and it's internal kind of relation. So this is an organic unity between individual and Brahma. Then Chitta, Achit, and Ishvara. These are three realities and called Tattvatrayee. Then Parinamvad, we have discussed it, already discussed. It's basically real transformation, causal transformation. Brahma really transforms into the word. Then Sakhyativad. Sakhyativad is theory of error as far as Ramanuja is concerned. And the illusion is due to misapprehension of an existing real substratum. So this is Sakhyativad as far as Ramanujacharya is concerned. Now, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the Ramanujacharya's theory? Strength, it reconciles theism and philosophy, because if you see, the theism attributes are missing as far as Shankaracharya is concerned. So here he brings Shankaracharya philosophy and mixes it with theism, particularly from Western world. And then that kind of negation or that kind of criticism of Shankaracharya goes away. It affirms the reality of multiplicity and ethical life. It provides philosophical legitimacy to bhakti and devotional movements. So all these positive points are there. But then once he mixes, it become again logically inconsistent. And this is one of the strongest cases, because Shankaracharya's philosophy's strongest point is it's logically very, very consistent and rational kind of system. In Ramanujacharya, when he mixes theism with that philosophy, it becomes logically inconsistent, and in upholding difference with non-duality, then also it makes God dependent on non-God attributes. So all kinds of criticism Advaita Vedantin pose against Ramanujacharya. And then, but still, it's also modern. Relevance is there for modern times. It underpins major Vaishnava traditions, because Shankaracharya's philosophy affects major Vaishnava traditions in India and abroad. Basis for temple-centric and community-centered bhakti. So that also is very, very important relevance as far as Ramanujacharya is concerned. So now we'll go to Dvaita Vedanta of Madhava, which is called dualism. What is philosophical structure or metaphysics? Let us try to understand that. Brahma or Vishnu, the only swatantra independent reality, all else is paratantra, that is dependent. So this is the theory which has been given by Madhava. Jiva, that is souls, and Jagat, that is word, both are eternally real, distinct from each other and from God also. So Panchaveda, fivefold difference he has given from God and Jiva and Jagat. So that also, if you go in detail, you can study that. And in next classes, I will try to take up this brief introduction which I am giving to in a more detail, so that each and every topic you can understand in more detail. But meanwhile, I will request you to go for self-study and at least try to understand how this brief structure can be elaborated further, because it's very, very important. Now, God is the only efficient cause of the universe. Matter is eternal, but dependent on God for manifestation. So this is basically Dvaita metaphysics as far as Madhvacharya is concerned. Now, if theory of knowledge we go, pramana or valid knowledge, only that which can be known as is real. So this is what Madhvacharya says as far as knowledge is concerned. And he gives another theory of Taratamya, that is hierarchy among souls. Some are destined for liberation, some eternally damned, unique in Indian thought except for Jainism. So because this kind of theory is not there in any other school except one school of Jainism, where it is said that not everybody is eligible for liberation. Some can attain it, some will never be able to attain liberation. So this is what he has given theory of Taratamya. That is, there are hierarchy among the souls. So soteriology, if we see moksha, the soul eternally remains distinct from God, enjoys degree of bliss by the grace of God, and means, definitely devotion is the only means which has been suggested by Madhvacharya as far as liberation is concerned. So now we'll see one or two, three technical terms. Panchaveda, fivefold difference. God and soul are different. God and word are different. Soul and word are different. Soul and soul are different. And word are different. So this is what he calls it Panchaveda, that all these entities are different from one another. Tartamya, as we have already seen, it's a graded hierarchy among souls, wherein some are fit for liberation, some are never fit for liberation, and some can achieve after some means or some effort, you can say. Then Sadeswara. Now, Sadeswara is 6 divine qualities of God. For example, infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite bliss, etc. So this is called Sadeswara. Now, what are the strengths and weaknesses of Madhvacharya? Its consistent theism and robust pluralism emphasizes moral responsibility and ethical differentiation. It supports individual distinctiveness and real diversity. So basically, whatever is empirical for Shankaracharya has become here basically real as far as Madhvacharya is concerned. And but this kind of theory definitely will become a lot of logical inconsistencies will creep in as far as this kind of theory is concerned. So problems are eternal domination. This is another, besides inconsistency, this is another one big problem, because he says that some souls are eternally damned, they will not be able to achieve liberation. So why God, a compassionate God, creates souls fated for suffering? It denies the possibility of unity between self and God, which limits mystical union. God is not the material cause, it limits divine immanence. But it has influence in some parts of India, particularly Karnataka, then Tulu, and provides scriptural basis for certain streams of bhakti. So, not as strong as Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya is concerned, but still it has influence in parts of India. Now, as I told, besides these three important schools, which usually questions do come from these schools only, as far as UPSC is concerned, there are other schools also, which if time permits or if context requires, you can mention that also. Perhaps that will upgrade the answer of your answer as far as the UPSC exam is concerned. First is Vedanta. So it was advocated by Nimbarka, Bhaskara, and Yadava Prakasha and others. So Vedanta, reality is both different and non-different. Unity in diversity, like sparks from fire. So this was one school advocated by Nimbarka and Bhaskara. Then another is Vallabhacharya. Vallabha has advocated Shuddha-Advaita Vedanta. Only Brahm is real, but creation is a real manifestation. So this is what Vallabhacharya has said. It emphasizes Pushti Marg, path of grace, and loving devotion to Krishna. So this is Vallabhacharya's philosophy. Then another is Nimbarka, another philosophy, Dvaita-Dvait, dualistic non-dualism. God, soul, and word are both different and non-different. So basically, these 2-3 other schools are there, not that much discussed, not that much have influence, but still we should at least know that besides the 3 main schools, there are other schools as well, as far as Vedanta is concerned. Now, here in the table, I have summarized the differences between basically 3 main schools: Advaita Vedanta, Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, and Dvaita Vedanta. So this I'm not going to repeat, because the same thing in very brief it has been given, which we have already discussed. So now in the next topic, what I'm going written is basically one system has criticized other system. For example, Shankaracharya or Advaita Vedantins have criticized Ramanuja. Ramanuja has in turn criticized Shankara's philosophy. Same thing for Madhava and Ramanuja also. So all 3 schools engage in detailed scriptural exigencies, debate, and logical refutation, shaping the trajectory of Indian philosophy. This is very important. And now, what are the contemporary relevance? As I told, these 3 philosophies are Advaita Vedanta, 3 sub-schools have very, very important influence as far as India and world is concerned. First is pluralism. The rich debate among Vedantic schools is a model of philosophical pluralism, unity through diversity. Each school provides conceptual resources for religious inclusivity, dialogue, and the reconciliation of immanence and transcendence. Second is global influence is also important there, because Vedanta remains foundational for Hindu spiritual life, and its impact is visible in works of modern thinkers, whether it is Vivekananda, whether it is Radhakrishnan, whether it is Aurobindo, all have been influenced by Shankar's Vedanta. Then comparative philosophy, Advaita has been compared to Western idealism, whether it is Berkeley, Spinoza, Hegel, while Vishishtadvaita resonates with pantheism, and Dvaita aligns with certain strands of dualism and theism in Western thought. So that also comparisons can be drawn. So basically, schools of Vedanta are very, very important as far as Indian philosophical systems are concerned. And not only that, even contemporary impact on contemporary philosophy, whether it is Indian or world, also is very, very high as far as Vedantic schools are concerned. Now, what I will do is, after briefly discussing, I will try to put a few PYQs which have been in earlier years asked as far as Vedanta is concerned. As I told, roughly 40 to 50 marks questions are asked in every year. 2024 exam papers I have already discussed, as I told. So it can be seen in my earlier class notes as well as on YouTube, this YouTube channel itself. Previous videos are there. So today what I'm going to discuss briefly is 2023 and 2022 PYQs of Vedanta philosophy. So first we will start with 2023. So this question, fifth C question, if you see the 2023 paper, what is the Advaitin interpretation of great sentence Mahavakya, thou art that, Tattvamasi? So basically, Tattvamasi briefly discussed. The directive of the question is briefly discussed. So discuss means you have to explain, then you have to also critically evaluate the whole thing. And this 10 marks question for 150 words, so it needs to be very briefly done because number of words are allotted are quite less and you don't have time also as far as in the exam is concerned to write. For 10 marks question, you cannot write more than 150 words. So basically, discussion, again, I'm repeating, will mean you give the exposition and then also critically evaluate that. So now let us see what will be the answer as far as Tattvamasi is concerned. In Advaita Vedanta, the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, that is thou art that, from Chandogya Upanishad, so this is one of the Upanishads from which it has been quoted, asserts that essential non-duality of individual and Brahma. So this is the meaning of this sentence basically. It asserts essential non-duality between individual and Brahma. And as I keep on telling, Sanskrit words have been used here. So whenever you are dealing with questions of Indian philosophy, do use the original Sanskrit words. Whenever you are dealing with Western philosophy, you do use original Greek, Latin, or English words, whatever sentences or references are there, because that will upgrade the quality of your answer. So now here, according to Adi Shankaracharya, their surface meanings differ due to limiting adjuncts, but their deeper unity is revealed through Bhag Tyag Lakshana. That is the method of discarding non-essential attributes to realize the self as Nirguna Brahma. Now, Sureswaracharya, Shankara's disciple, expounds this in his Vartika, another book written by Sureswaracharya, emphasizing internal realization via Sravan Manana Nidhyasa. Jiva is not part of Brahma, but is Brahma itself. Once illusion is removed. So this is the main meaning as far as this sentence is concerned. Now, as I told, after explaining, we have to go critically also. We have to see critically. Ramanuja interprets the sentence as indicating qualified non-dualism. So same sentence has been interpreted by Ramanuja in different way. And Madhava reads it as a sarcastic in context, denying identity altogether. As we have seen, both Ramanuja, Madhava, and Shankaracharya's philosophy differ. So same, because this Upanishadic sentence has been interpreted by all the three in different formats. So Ramanuja interprets the sentence as indicating qualified non-dualism, while Madhava reads it as sarcastic in context, denying identity altogether. So there is no identity between individual and Brahma. Swami Vivekananda upheld Tattvamasi as the essence of Vedantic Hinduism, humanism, while Paul Hecker, another modern philosopher, critiqued Shankara's rereading as grammatically strained. So this is a critical view as far as Shankara's explanation is concerned. Nevertheless, for Advaitins, Tattvamasi remains the gateway to moksha through self-knowledge. So this is the first question I'm taking up today. Now we'll go to second question as far as 2023 exam paper is concerned. So this question is 6A. which means about 220 marks question, 300 words we have to explain. And the question is, discuss Ramanuja's criticism of Shankara's conception of Brahma and Iswara. So basically, the question is simple, because you have to discuss Ramanuja's criticism of Shankara's conception of Brahma and Iswara, and discuss also means that after writing or after giving exposition of Ramanuja's criticism, you have to critically evaluate also that, because about 20 to 30% weightage you have to give for critical evaluation as far as directive discuss is concerned. So let us see. Ramanuja, the proponent of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, offers a pointed refutation of Shankara's Advaita in his Sri Bhasya. So this is book of Ramanujacharya, especially targeting the bifurcation of Nirguna Brahma and Iswara, that is Nirguna Brahma and Sagun Brahma. Shankara holds that only Brahma is Paramarthik Satya, while Iswara and the word are Vyavaharik. This is what Shankaracharya's philosophy. Projected through Maya, liberation involves the negation of plurality through non-dual realization. So this is Shankara's view. Ramanuja challenges this both textually and existentially. He argues that the Upanishads describe Brahma not as a divide of all qualities, but as endowed with auspices, that is Kalyan Guna. And what are Kalyan Gunas? Jnana, Ananda, Iksha, and Daya. Texts like Anandam Brahma, Sarvagyaha Sarvayati, Yasmin Sravani Bhutani refer to a personal, omniscient Brahma. For Ramanuja, Nirgun negates only Tadarsh Gunas, that is limiting our material qualities, not divine perfections. As he declares, Sarva Matman Iswarasya Partavam. Iswara is supreme in every respect. So this is Sanskrit sentence quoted from Ramanujacharya. He further critiques Maya as ontologically incoherent, neither real nor unreal, violating the law of non-contradiction, because Shankaracharya has given that Maya is neither real nor unreal, so he has criticized that also. A Brahma that negates agency, relation, and will, he contends, cannot be the basis of bhakti. So this is what another criticism of Ramanujacharya. Sarangati, or ethical action. Such abstraction renders devotion, duty, and grace spiritually void. So this is what Ramanujacharya said regarding Shankara's Brahma. While Shankara's metaphysical rigor and non-duality attract admiration, Ramanuja exposes its experiential inadequacy. Later thinkers like Madhusudana Sravasti attempted to reconcile bhakti with Advaita, indicating the force of Ramanuja's critique. So, because after Ramanuja's critiques, later Vedantins have tried to do some reconciliation kind of thing also. So this is what has been mentioned here. Thus, Ramanuja offers a vision of Brahma as Iswara, qualified by Chit and Anand, both eminent and transcendent. His Vishishta Brahma preserves philosophical coherence, spiritual fidelity, and spiritual intimacy, countering what he sees as the reductive abstraction of Shankar's Nirgunavad. So basically, if you see here, we have not only criticized Shankar's, taken Ramanuja's criticism of Shankaracharya, but also tried to bring it in a little more evaluative manner as far as last 3 paragraphs are concerned. So this makes the answer as far as this question is concerned. Now, another, see, now the third question we have got in exam 23. So already 20, 30 marks question is there. Now this is 15 marks question is there again. So basically 45 marks questions already available as far as 2023 exam paper is concerned from Vedanta. Liberation is defined by that Vedantins as attainment of that which is already attained. This is the definition of liberation as far as Shankaracharya is concerned. How does Shankara illustrates this statement? Discuss with your own comments. So this is what has to be discussed. According to Shankara, liberation is not the acquisition of something new, but the realization of what is ever attained. praptasya prapti. So this is what another Sanskrit term, because this is realization of what is already attained. The self is eternally non-different from Brahma, but appears bound due to avidya. Liberation is thus not transformation, but the removal of ignorance through self-knowledge, that is jnana. So this is Shankar's philosophy. Already we have seen briefly. So accordingly, the liberation is not something new, but it's already, to be attained, whatever already existing basically. So Sankara explains with some examples also. For example, first example is rope snake example. Second example is pot space and infinite space example. So for example, ignorance make a rope to appear as a snake. Knowledge alone dissolves this illusion. And the pot space appears distinct but is never separate from the infinite. Then another example, sun and clouds. The ever-luminous self is obscured by ignorance like clouds veil the sun. So these are examples he has given to explain how liberation is not something new, basically. But then critical view, we have to now critically evaluate this argument. Ramanuja, the proponent of Vishishtadvaita, rejects this view for ignoring divine grace and ethical devotion. So straightway he rejects this. For him, liberation involves a personal relation with Iswara, not just epistemic correction. Modern philosophers also, for example, Radhakrishnan, warn that Advaita's impersonalism may lead to spiritual detachment. Another philosopher, Mahadevan, defends it as the most logically coherent system of Vedanta. Then another philosopher, modern philosopher, Eliade appreciates its insight that truth is discovered, not created, offering inner emancipation. So basically, this is a very important statement. Truth is discovered and not created as far as this statement is concerned. And if you see the question is discuss with your own comments. This is directive. The first part is how does Sankara illustrate this statement, and then discuss your own with your own comments also. So then in the end, you have to give your own comments also. So here is the own comment. In my opinion, Shankara's model is deeply metaphysical and introspective, but may underplay the transformative emotional and ethical dimensions because of liberation, because it's not a devotional kind of thing. So definitely ethical dimensions, emotional and transformative, it's underplaying. Still, the emphasis on self-inquiry and self-eternal freedom remains a powerful spiritual paradigm. So this is once or the student's view or the writer's view as far as the question is concerned, and this completes the question. Now we'll go to 2022. So in 2023, 45 marks question has come from Vedanta philosophy. Now let us see 2022. Now first question is 10 marks question. This is fifth E. Do you agree with the view that Vivartavad is the logical development of Parinamvad? So first part of the question is this, and give reasons in support of your answer. So first you have to tell whether you agree or not, and then you have to give the reasons. So now let us see in 10 marks, that is 150 words, how it can be written. So first, I disagree that Vivartavad is logical development of Parinamvad. It is a metaphysical reversal, not a refinement. So this is clearly first answer. Now, subsequent paragraphs will elaborate this, give reasons for this. So now let us see how. Parinamvad upheld by Kapila Sankhya and Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita. Now here mention of Kapila Sankhya, because Sankhya also promotes Parinamvad only. Will upgrade your answer, because Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita anyway you have to mention, but if you mention by chance Kapila Sankhya also, it's going to upgrade your answer, because then it will make the question more comparative. Asserts real transformation. For example, Sankhya says Prakriti evolves into the word, Sankhya Karika of Ishwar Krishna, or Brahma modifies into the names and forms. In contrast, Shankar's Advaita Vedanta, especially in his Brahma Sutra, Bhasya, and Vivek Chudamani, these are books of Advaita Vedanta, advances Vivartavad, that is, word is an illusory superimposition, that is Adhyasa of unchanging Brahma. So this is what Shankaracharya. Now, Advaita rejects transformation as it contradicts Upanishadic declarations like Brahmaiva Satyam and Nirvikaram Satyam. The cause and effect relation is not real but epistemic, mediated by Maya. So this is what given by Shankaracharya. While both theories address creation, Vivartavad is not a logical progression but a conceptual opposition. So this is what is the answer. It shifts the problem of ontology to epistemology, from becoming to misperception. So this is what is the real thing as far as Vivartavad and Parinamavad is concerned. One is not the development of other. Modern scholars, again Mahadevan, affirm this rupture, noting that Advait's causality is rooted in illusion, unlike realism of transformation theories. Hence, Vivartavad again is not an evolved Parinama, but a non-dualistic counter framework redefining causation as appearance without change. So what is the answer? Answer is it's not the development of one is not development of other, but it's totally different. And they are basically redefining the theory of causation. One is real, another is only apparent. So therefore, this can be the answer of this question. Now, second, 8A of 2022 exam paper, again 20 marks, 300 words question. And the question is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jio Brahmaiv Napara. Very important sentence as far as Advaita Vedanta is concerned. The light of this explain the ontological status of Iswara, Jiva and Sakshi as elucidated in Advaita Vedanta. So basically, here you have to explain. So explain, directive of explain again means you have to give the exposition, and in the last paragraph or so, you can bring some comparative or some critical points also, because this 20 marks question. So definitely those points needs to be brought. Now let us see. The statement often attributed to Sankara, Brahma is real and the world is illusory and the self is none other than Brahma, expresses the metaphysical essence of Advaita Vedanta. It asserts that Brahma is sole absolute reality, Paramarthik Satya, while the empirical world is Mithya and the Jiva is not ultimately distinct from Brahma. In this system, Iswara is Brahma conditioned by Maya, appearing as the creator, preserver and destroyer of universe. Iswara operates at the empirical or Vyavharik level and is accessible to devotion, yet is ultimately transcendent in realization of Nirgun Brahma. This distinction is explored in the works of Padampad and Sureswara, affirming that Iswara too is not ontologically independent of Brahma. So basically, this is Sankara's philosophy, which we have already seen. So same thing has been described here. The Jiva, so basically, what has been asked in the question, first is Iswara's status, you have to tell, then Jiva's status and Sakshi. So here in this, we have told Iswara's status. Now we'll go to Jiva's status and then Sakshi's status, because all parts of the question needs to be covered. So accordingly, it has been the Jiva under the influence of avidya falsely identifies with the mind-body complex due to adhyasa. One more thing I just want to tell, because important words and phrases, technical terms, names, etc., you need to underline in actual exam. And whatever needs to be underlined in my presentation, I have made it bold. So that also I just want to tell all the students that you please follow that. Otherwise, even if you have written something very good, examiner may not be able to see it. So whatever we write, we have to attract the attention of examiner also. So accordingly, we need to underline it prominently so that attention of examiner is attracted immediately. So complex due to adhyasa. Liberation is attained through self-knowledge by realizing one's identity with Brahma as taught in Chandogya Upanishad. So this again, another point I just want to tell, references have to be mentioned wherever necessary. So if books are to be referred, or if thinkers are to be referred, philosophers have to be referred, please do that. This is Jiva. Now Sakshi, or the witness consciousness, is the inner seer that illuminates all mental states without participating in them. Now Gaudapada, another Vedantic philosopher, explains it. It is unborn, changeless and non-dual, identical with Brahma itself. So this is Iswara, Jiva and Sakshi ontological status as far as Shankar's Vedanta is concerned. In the light of the sentence, the Brahma Satyam Jagat Vitya Jiva Brahma Na Para. So in the light of this, we have to explain, and accordingly it has been explained. Now a few critical evaluation points also let us see. Ramanuja is a strong critic of Shankaracharya, rejects this framework for rendering Iswara provisional and undermining devotional theism. Madhava, also another critic, asserts an eternal distinction between Iswara, Jiva and Jagat, fundamentally opposing Advait's non-dualism. Modern scholars, again, Radhakrishnan, Eliot Dutz, and Mahadevan, we have quoted. Their views needs to be written, because then it will make it, your answer will become more balanced, basically, because Ramanujacharya and Madhavacharya have anyway criticized, but modern scholars, some have supported, some have criticized, and their criticism is also very, very balanced kind of criticism. For example, Radhakrishnan valued Advaita as a spiritual vision, but warned of ethical detachment. Eliot Dutz saw it as a phenomenology of pure being. Mahadevan upheld it as the most coherent systematization of Upanishadic Mohinism. So while criticized for abstraction, Advaita remains a rigorously consistent ontology, where sadhana culminates not in becoming, but in realizing that Brahma alone is real, and the witnessing self is none other than Brahma. So this is a very important conclusion deriving out of the critical evaluation and the exposition. Now, next is another 15 marks question. So, if you see in this 2022 exam also, 30 plus again 45 marks question comes from from the Vedantic schools. How does the concept of liberation of Madhvacharya differ from that of Ramanujacharya? Explain. This is 15 marks question. So basically, we have to give the differences between Madhavacharya's and Ramanujacharya's conception of moksha. Ramanujacharya in Vishishtadvait Vedanta conceives moksha as a nitya kanikarya, eternal loving service to Narayana in Vaikuntha. So this is as far as Ramanujacharya is concerned, definition of moksha. The jiva remains ontologically distinct, but is a mode, that is prakara of Brahma, who is both material and efficient cause. Liberation is attained through bhakti yoga, aided by divine grace, with karma and jnana yoga as a preparatory thing. In contrast, Madhavacharya's Dvait Vedanta affirms eternal dualism between Iswara, Jiva and Jagat. Moksha is not union but sakshatkara. So moksha is here not union but sakshatkar, that is direct vision of Vishnu while preserving absolute difference. So this is the definition of moksha as far as Madhavacharya is concerned. He proposes taratamya, an intrinsic gradation among souls. Some are mukti yogas, others tamo yogas, destined for eternal bondage. So different kinds of souls are there as far as Madhavacharya is concerned. Only Keval Bhakti leads to moksha. Jnana is rejected as a path as far as Madhavacharya is concerned. Both accept devotion and grace but differ in ontology, sotology, and universality. Ramanuja's moksha emphasizes intimacy with personal God and allows universal potential for liberation. Madhava's framework, while theologically precise, introduces soul-based hierarchy and moral exclusivism. So this is sum and substance of the difference between the two philosophers or two philosophies, you can say. Now we'll try to evaluate with views of some modern philosophers. Radhakrishnan views Ramanuja's position as philosophically inclusive and spiritually elevating, and critiques Madhava for limiting moksha to the elected few. Another philosopher, modern philosopher, Surendranath Dasgupta, sees Ramanuja as preserving Upanishadic theism, while Sharma defends Madhava's view as upholding divine justice and moral order. So thus both models are theistic and realist, yet differ fundamentally. If you can compare it with Shankaracharya, I mean, here both are realistic, but still they differ. So even though being theistic and realistic, yet they differ fundamentally in their vision of liberation, equality of souls, and post-liberation relationship with the divine. So basically, if we can see both in 2023 and 2022, 45 marks question has come from Vedanta schools. Today, I have been very briefly, I have covered Vedanta schools, their metaphysics, their epistemology, soteriology, and other some basic points, some important technical terms which they have used. And we have tried to cover 2023 and 2022 exam PYQs. I am sure this is going to be helpful for the students who are preparing in for the exam. Next week, I am going to take up another school as far as Indian philosophy is concerned. Then we'll close Indian philosophy. We'll try to start philosophy of religion, Western philosophy. I've already covered in my previous videos, previous class lectures. So thanks a lot for watching today's video and participating in today's class. Thank you, everybody. We'll meet again in next class. Thank you.